So what I'm going to be working on next is brazing the bottom bracket assembly to the seat tube assembly. Now this is a really critical braze because there's a lot of stress that gets placed on this bottom bracket. So I'm going to have to be really careful and really concentrate and hopefully get a good penetration with my solder up into the braze. But so far up to this point, I've cleaned my down tube or my seat tube with mineral spirits to get all the minerals and get any kind of oil and grease off the seat tube itself. I've cleaned up my my mitered contour that's going to be inside the bottom bracket, and I've cleaned the outside of the bottom bracket and the inside of the contour of the seat tube connection there. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put flux on my seat tube and my bottom bracket. And I'm going to use lots of flux on this. Flux is cheap, and so I'm going to use plenty of it because I'm going to have to apply a lot of heat to that bottom bracket to make sure I get a good penetration. And I don't want to be running out of flux in the process. So I'm going to go a little bit further down on the seat tube than I really would probably have to. I'm not going to be heating this far down, and it doesn't conduct that far. But I want to make sure that I don't run out of flux. There we go. That's looking pretty good. And right now I'm not going to flux the outside of my bottom bracket because I'm going to make sure I got some measurements done before I do a final placement of this. But I will flux the inside of it. So now that I got the flux on there, I'm going to put this on. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to make sure my contours are lined up with the inside of the bottom bracket. And it looks like they pretty much are in there. Move some of that flux around in there. Now, before I make this a permanent fixture on the seat tube and the bottom bracket, once again I'm going to check that everything's perpendicular to everything. So now my seat tube is at a perfect 90-degree angle. A 90-degree angle to the ground. And then I want to make sure that the bottom bracket is 90 degrees. Yep, and it's 90 degrees. So they are perfectly perpendicular to each other. So this is ready to be brazed.